Good morning, good morning, good morning. So actually, I was watching one of our lives, and I realized these lights behind me are kind of obnoxious. So I'm trying to see if I could cut them off for you. All right, I think that's kind of good. I don't know, but good morning. Super exciting stuff, and I think I say that every day. But I'm always super excited. Like there's always something super exciting. So it's never like, oh, that's Anthony's catchphrase, super exciting. It's actually things are super exciting. So yesterday we went ahead and did just a round of emails. So every week we either do bump up Thursday, bump up Friday, or last week we did bump up Saturday, just to change it up, right? And once a week, whether it be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, we'll email everyone and say, hey, listen, this is where we are. This is what we need. Ian, good morning. Freddie, good morning. This is where we are. This is where we're going. This has been the progress, and this is what you could expect going forward. And with that said, we'd like you to upgrade your plan, and we think that'd be a good idea. I think that would help us, and we obviously will help you too, because as long as we're accomplishing what we're accomplishing, the price just keeps going up. And anytime you buy something at $1, I can sell at $2. You wish you bought more at $1, right? And I hear that all the time. I'm on investor calls every day. And everyone always says, oh my God, I wish at a cent. I wish at $1. I wish at $2. And each time everyone always ends with, oh, but that's gone. And I tell them, well, after the next dollar, someone else is going to say the same thing you're saying right now about the price that we're at today. So again, as long as everything continues going forward, you're good. And to that point, so I got a chance to speak to one of our, we have a bunch of investors, and some of them are like our investors, right? Like, and what I mean by that is when you're looking for a large dollar amount, you know who you can go to, and if you're looking for to piece dollar amounts together, you know who you could go to, and that's totally cool, right? Everyone contributes, and that's a very good thing. So I've been on a bunch of investor calls because we want to go ahead and finance our marketing spend going forward. Because and actually I'm a little tired today because I did not actually sleep at all last night, not even 1 minute. In fact, I did sleep. I started sleeping at like 6:30 in the morning. And then my wife at like 7:15 is like, oh, our son's up. And it's funny because our daughter is only 2 months and she breastfeeds. So my wife, that's kind of like her her responsibility. And then our son, it's, I could get up and pick him up and stuff like that. So I think I got like 30 minutes of sleep. But I could not sleep because the call that I had yesterday with one of our investors, who's actually really, really, really excited to go ahead and be that $200,000 person that takes care of all the marketing spend. So we have a follow-up Saturday, but I think that is a good case. That'll happen over the next week and a half. Hey, good morning, Deborah. I think over the next week and a half, in which case once that happens, it's, off to the races. And the point of me not getting sleep was, remember 2 days ago when I was sharing just the top-down metrics, all the performance metrics we've had. And then yesterday, I kind of elaborated on them even further, that they were even better than I expected. They were better than I shared because, we don't really have 350 members. We have 350 members today, but all in all, we probably had around 420. So when you take a look at how many wallets that actually have coin in it, it's not really 75%, it's like 60%. Meaning that there's even a larger percentage than we previously thought of those that join RHINO that actually have no intention of selling in any near-term capacity. And that does not mean that they're never going to sell, but it means in no near-term capacity. And the value of that is that when selling is staggered off in the future, but buying is automatic and together, then it's kind of like fractional reserve banking, in which case, as long as there's never everyone running to withdraw at the same time, then you're fine. You're totally fine. You can continue growing forever because that's the assumption. In banking, they lend out 10 to 1 because the belief is in no world will 10% of the depositors come and say, we want all of our money all at the same time. It doesn't work like that. And the only way you could predict that is by getting past the near term, because then once you get past the near term, now it's left up to people's personal lives. Maybe someone has a birthday, maybe someone's going through a midlife crisis, maybe someone's retiring, maybe someone's leaving it to his children. You don't know. And because that staggerness, along with a good growth, it always takes care of it, which means the model works. So I was looking at it more. And then last night I was thinking about it even more because we're going to have this big webinar Wednesday. And I'm going to spend Monday and Tuesday actually putting together a presentation. And I think I'll moderate it. But just to make sure that the presentation is really great, I'm going to actually put it together and I'll live moderate it. And I was thinking about the numbers. I'm like, okay, you know, and I don't know the numbers offhand, right? Like I'm gonna give you like overall, like you know, bigger estimates, right? So of all, and again, we can find these numbers in 2 seconds. You could go to the BST scan for RHINO Bucks, and it's a blockchain. Every transaction ever is right there. So I will audit it. But out of the 100% of sales of RHINO ever, I think I'm actually 80% of them. Because I've always been selling the RHINO into the market to go ahead and add liquidity to the market so that the market cap continues growing. And when we always said that we were always going to hold it to a penny per day, to do that, every time there was excessive purchasing, I had to sell the RHINO to go ahead and bring it down. I really truly believe, maybe not 80, maybe 70%, 70 to 80% of all the selling ever of RHINO is me. Okay. There's about maybe 25 wallets that I've ever even sold. So of the 270 wallets, of the 420 members, only 25 I think I've ever actually even sold. Okay, of those 25, there's only been 5 that I've sold more than 5 times. Of those 5 that I've sold for more than 5 times, the 2 largest ones, I personally know why they've been selling. And that's not something I'm going to share with everyone, but it's personal financial matters. Like it's their personal livelihood that got disrupted over the course of the last couple of months. So what they've been doing is selling at a very, very measured pace to go ahead and allow RHINO to be uninterrupted, right? Like they're never going to flood the market. But secondly, to go ahead and continue receiving income on the appreciating asset. Which means those other 3 that sold more than 5 times are just good for them, right? I know one of them. He went ahead and sold his whole entire balance. I think he is one that was a little skeptical because I know him. I've spoken to him plenty of times. He's a really, really smart kid, actually, he's probably 30 or something. But he sold it in a very measured way, 100, 100, 100. And I think he thought that was the right way to do it. Well, you know, so far he's been wrong. We're continuing to go up. Another one of those 5 was one of our former employees. You know, I gave all of our employees 1,000 coins just so that they could participate in, hey, this is, you know, almost like a bonus. Go ahead, buy it, sell it, do whatever you want with it. Yeah, so Maurice, I'm going to get to that in a second. So one of our employees. He had 1,000 RHINO and he sold the whole 1,000 RHINO down during Christmas. I think he might have been a little upset that we've, you know, moved our relations. We lowered his hours just because we had to hunker down as well as less money was coming in. And to his credit, we gave him a phenomenal review and he's already full-time at the next place. So all's good that ends, all's well that ends well, right? But he was one of them. And then the other one is actually one of our regulars. He's known RHINO for like 3 years. We've actually hired him before to do work. I mean, what he does is he buys it on the bonus days, like 150, you know, whenever we did the Black Friday stuff. And then he sells his cost over the next couple of days at the 220 or 240 level, whatever it may be, which is I'm not exactly a fan of, but how do I legislate against that, right? It's a free market. Everyone could do what they want. But that is the 5 that I've sold over 5 times. And to Maurice's point, a lot of the other sales are odd amounts, like 6.19 or 10.10. And then when I take a look at the wallet that sold it, because again, maybe I'm all encompassing with RHINO, right? Like I'll never call anyone and say, how dare you, or why did you do this? But I like knowing everything there is to know. It's just the nature of the beast. So I always, no matter who sells, I take a look at where the sale came from. Because if it's something I need to know, then I need to know it. And the point is, when I see those odd numbers, I then take a look at the wallet and see that the wallet had 206.19 or 1010.1. And you realize the number that they sold was to go ahead and like Marie said, to test the market to make sure that they can sell it, but also was to round off their balances. I want to test it. How much am I going to sell? In fact, one person that tested, this is a funny story. They tested it once with like 50, and then they, they got so upset at themselves that they went and bought it back the next day because they're like, I don't know why I sold. That was so silly. And I know that because they called me and they told me, and I thought that was like such a silly sentence, but it was truly a credit to what we're doing. So when you go ahead and factor all those people out, and you can't factor them out, right? Like numbers are unambiguously objective. You can't go ahead and ascribe opinions to it and say, well, this person's financial matter is their financial matter, therefore we could go ahead and scrub them out. No, because in the law of averages, that's the average, right? X amount of people will have financial matters for reasons that you think are, maybe someone breaks their leg. I have no idea. But the point of what I'm saying is, I know why the people that sold have been selling. And to me, they're all one-off events. None of them are events that, all right, it's structurally a structural issue with RHINO. Now, of course, that percentage that have sold, you have to assume will always be the case. But between you and I think the real numbers are actually better than I'm going to present, because again, I know those specific people. Am I going to always fire someone and they always going to sell their 1,000? I don't think so, but we have 3 other employees that have 1,000 right now. So what do I know, right? The point being that when we go ahead and present the data for these 90 days over the 350 members, what we're going to be able to present, and I think if I could give a big picture, is that about 96 to 97% of the money that comes in is not looking to leave in any regular time frame. And if we can show that over 90% of the money that comes in is not leaving with any regularity, then you could go ahead and prove that the model is self-sustaining. Because as long as that's the case, say one day, 3 weeks from now, 20% of people sell, it wouldn't matter, because 90% over the previous 3 weeks didn't sell. Therefore, there's a balance to go ahead and cover that. And since 20% would be such a crazy derivative of the 4 or 5% that we're talking about, that can never be sustainable either. So if you can go ahead and cover something so unsustainable, then surely you could cover the sustainable stuff. Which means that when you peel that back even further, you're able to go ahead and offer proof of a model that works. Now, what is the model? How far can it work, right? Well, the model is quite simple. It's people. It's the original calculation that people are infinite, and of course they're not, right? Like people, there's going to be a finite number of them at some point, but when that finite number is hit, it's because the world blew up. And at that point, it doesn't matter what the value of your assets are, because you're dead. So you can go ahead and assume and calculate that infinite, because it is true. Because it is true until the world blows up. So if you can calculate that, well, then how do you go ahead and make it sustainable? Well, you go ahead and offer, you create the awareness and grow it through low dollar amounts. And the point of the low dollar amounts is that you can go ahead and increase your sustainability if you're not burdening someone with a financial burden that can be vulnerable to economy. So for instance, if we had, say, 10 million people all at $1 a week, I'd be the happiest person in the world. I hope that our average is $1 over 100 million people, because I feel really, really comfortable that at $1, that I don't think the economy will ever get so bad that any percentage of, even 5% or higher will say, oh my God, I can't sustain this $1 a week. Now, that's not a commentary on those that can't. There are some that can't, right? And I speak to them, I know them. But again, we're speaking in percentages. So if you can go ahead and say, with a level of confidence, well, not confidence, a level of proof, hey, everyone, if you all participate right here at $1 a week, then I can go ahead and deliver to you an infinite appreciating asset that you will own and that you can redeem at any point, at any time. And when you do, it's going to be a higher price, and you would have made a very large amount of money on it. If you could say that sentence, well, oh my God, you actually accomplished something. You cracked the code, right? You built the model. And the model isn't so complicated. It's what's population worth? You have all this ad spend and internet marketing and data trading and all the rest of it. And all it is the same thing. They're not able to force you to buy something. You know, they buy 100 leads of people that all live next to an ice cream place. They can't say if we buy these 100 leads, we can force Fred, Todd, and Tyler to buy. But they could say, well, we should be able to get 3% buying. I don't care who they are, we could get 3%. And the point is, because we're only single people, we don't own that power. We don't own that money. Our data is worthless by itself. We don't represent enough of a sample size. Like, I can't go to Nestle and say, hey, listen, I'll sell you my data. I want $100. They'll say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Even if you bought chocolate the rest of your life, I don't even know if you'd be worth $100. And we can't guarantee that you will. And what if you don't even like chocolate? Like, that doesn't even make sense. But I represent every single lead list that's ever sold. No one gives me that money. They just transfer it back and forth. So people that do not own me sell me to receive money from other people that then bought me. Like, I'm just sitting here. And the name of those companies are called Google, Facebook, and on and on and on. And I don't want to vilify just them. Everyone does it. No matter where you go, every website you go to, you have to opt into the cookies because every site is tracking you and they want to know where you are, and that data gets sold everywhere. So effectively what RHINO said is, listen, we know it's happening. We're not stupid, but we're only one person, so we can't get our fair share of it. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to unionize as people, and we'll just invest in ourselves. And that investment, when you have an infinite demand with a limited supply, equals infinite appreciation. But the bigger picture of that is that when you're denominated in dollars, a finite currency, then the appreciation of your asset draws money from other places, right? So if you're a $10 asset, well, you're worth $10. If you're a $100 asset, you're worth $100. The difference being that $90, 100 minus 10 is 90. Where'd that 90 come from? It came from somewhere. It got drawn from somewhere else, got transferred from other assets. And that transfer on a big scale, if you could go ahead and turn the billion RHINO into like $100 a piece or $1,000 a piece, $1,000 a piece means RHINO's worth $1 trillion. Now, it's not worth $1 trillion today, but where's that trillion going to come from? It's real dollars. Where does those dollars come from? It gets transferred from other assets. What are the other assets? Well, the largest assets in the world are Wall Street companies and corporations and the real estate they own and the equities they own. So essentially what we're saying is, you guys are all making so much money off of us, and we have no recourse. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to create a competing asset that's going to transfer the money from your assets to ours, because we know that's the money that we're worth. That's our money. And we can't prove which dollar is what, but that's the math of it. And we don't need to prove anything to anyone. Assets are assets. Everyone's allowed to invest in anything they want. There's no law that says you can't invest in something that goes up. That's like completely hogwash, right? And the point is, it is a self-balancing mechanism. And if you agree with me that people and population are the wealth of the world, well, then we're kind of building something that changes the world, because this will be the first time ever that population has in their own control to actually receive their wealth. Because if you're able to draw from and transfer from all the money and all the different assets, well, that's people taking back all of the money. Now, of course, those assets will have an equilibrium. They're not going to all go to zero. Apple's not going to zero. But does Apple need to be worth 30 times its value? I don't know. Does Amazon need to be worth 1,000 times its value? Does Tesla need to be worth 80 times its value? So you got to remember, these assets, they're not priced in what the company's worth. They're priced in what their future is worth. Because like we're doing here, Wall Street understands the infinite of future. They use it and they leverage it. You cannot buy a company today for a PE, price to earnings ratio, of 1. It doesn't exist. If you want to buy Microsoft, you're paying 25 times what the company's actually worth. Because the belief is, over the next 30 years, by the time 25 years go by, you are consistently making money for 5 of them. That's the math. That's the way Wall Street works. And you know why they're able to work like that? Because they capture the full value of people and they sell it to each other, while we sit here like doo-doo-doos and twiddle our fingers. Well, I've always had a problem with that, and I think it's going to be my epitaph, right? Like Anthony, figured it out. I don't know. That's kind of my life mission. It's not to be a trillionaire. It's just to be like all right, he pushed the envelope forward. And the coolest part about, and I'll wrap up here, is that the math is built for this to work. So everything that I shared with you, yeah, Anthony, that makes sense. But again, you're still bumping up to like, how do you educate people about that, right? Like, yeah, Anthony, that makes sense, but I don't see the bells and whistles. Well, that's what the automations are, right? And that's why we've spent so much time with them. Between you and I've been the most frustrated person in the entire world that for the last 2 months, every single person has emailed me and says, Ant, I don't think I got my RHINO yet. And I've had to go through every single account to confirm that, and then speak to our tech team to correct that, and then apologize to someone that I need to believe me, even though I just apologized 5 times prior. It's not an easy feat. It's not fun. It's very humbling. And again, it offers an opportunity that we get to learn each other, because I think maybe only 1 or 2 people are like, I just give up on this, but not many others. And during that process, don't kid yourself. I could have always, at any point in time, said, all right, let's can the automations and we'll just bulk send once a week. No big deal. And that would have solved it near term. But the bigger picture is that big explosion moment is when all 1 billion RHINO are gone and we would have built 10,000 different accounts. All those automations are for that moment. So when each one of those accounts is automatically buying RHINO at the market price, and the RHINO is being delivered to their wallets. And if we're able to show, which we will, that 96% of the money that comes into RHINO stays there, well, the calculation now is, this is what equals. You have 100% that are automatically buying at whatever price they could buy at, but only 4% that are actively selling, which means for the other 96% to get the coin that they have to buy, they have to buy it at higher prices to entice more sellers. Well, the only way you can entice a seller with the higher price is by saying, okay, I know the market's at 100, but I need to buy this from you. I'll buy it for 110, 120, 130. And when you do that, then the next buyer has to buy it at that price or higher. You see, when the overwhelming behavior is on the buy side, the price keeps going up. When the overwhelming behavior is on the sell side, the price keeps going down. When you have 96% net buying every single day, automatically, then it's like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And that's the moment that our marketing is going to get us to. So Monday and Tuesday, I hope to be kind of like off the grid, because I need to just create this presentation, audit all the numbers, kind of like a biotech company that finished their phase 3 study and now they're presenting data to the FDA. That's kind of what I have to do for Wednesday. But that plus resources, financial resources, equals something that we're much closer to than it feels. Like I was talking to one of our investors the other day, he goes, I'm actually at like an all-time low in confidence. And I said to him, that's really weird because I'm at an all-time high in confidence. And I go, the difference is perspective. You believed that we were going to be millionaires by now. I believed that we had to build it and that this moment wasn't going to come till next year. So again, it's all perspective. From my perspective, we're right on track. From his perspective, we're late. So in a very nice way, I said, you have to remanage your expectations because in my world, it's a really fun place to be. How long will the webinar be? I think it's going to be just an hour. What do we have Deborah, it's today. Go check out the Slack group, you silly goose. Frida, the webinar, maybe an hour, not longer. I hate long webinars. But I also was up at night thinking like, what can it look like? The boom, the pow, the wee, can I spin? I don't know. I don't want to make it childish, but I do need it to be entertaining. And so we'll see. I have no idea. If anybody wants to share webinar ideas with me, email me. Otherwise, Monday and Tuesday, that is all I'm doing. I think that's it. I have a ton of meetings today because I have our team meeting at 12. I had this meeting, obviously, and then our VPs at 2, plus all the things we still have to do. Frida, I'm actually going to email it to you because I know that's something we always do. So I love everyone. We are really, really close. And RHINO's another all-time high today. So enjoy it. Love you, love you, love you. Bye.